Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. A lot going on this Friday night. Tonight we have some big developments in both of Special Counsel Jack Smith's investigations into Donald Trump. First, in the documents case, just minutes ago, we learned that Smith has filed 3 motions. He's asked that the ex-president's trial date, originally set for this August, be delayed until December 11th of this year. That is to give the government more time to address procedures involving the classified documents that are crucial to the prosecution's argument. Smith also requested a pre-trial conference regarding those classified documents and submitted a sealed list of witnesses that Donald Trump and his co-defendant, Walt Nauta, are not allowed to speak to personally per the terms of their release before trial. We're also looking at a major development in Jack Smith's other case related to January 6th. Specifically, the so-called fake electors scheme, which was one of many attempts by Trump and his allies to overturn the results of the 2020 election. NBC News has previously reported that 2 of the fake electors from Nevada testified before Jack Smith's federal grand jury earlier this month. Now, that detail alone is pretty telling, indicated that Smith and his team are actively pursuing the fake electors as part of a larger investigation into Donald Trump's unlawful attempts to stay in power after he lost the election. But a new twist today. A brand new report out now reveals these 2 fake electors who testified were offered partial immunity as part of their cooperation with the investigation, which certainly signals an escalation in this portion of the inquiry. Now, to explain why, we should first look at the bigger picture of the whole fake elector scheme. And I got to say, there were so many parallel efforts to overturn the election and keep Donald Trump in power unlawfully against the will of the American people, it can be difficult to keep track of them all. So in order to understand the fake elector scheme, you need to be familiar with some technical stuff about how the Electoral College works. Here is how Congressman Adam Schiff explained it during one of the January 6 hearings.
Under our Constitution, when we cast our votes for president, we are actually voting to send electors pledged to our preferred candidate to the Electoral College. In December, the electors in each state meet, cast their votes, and send those votes to Washington. There is only one legitimate slate of electors from each state. On the 6th day of January, Congress meets in a joint session to count those votes, and the winner of the Electoral College vote becomes the president.
So it's a weird process. I think we should get rid of it, but it's what we got, right? So, for example, in 2020, when Joe Biden won, the state of Nevada, for instance, and its 6 electoral votes, the state's 6 Biden electors got together in December and they certified Joe Biden's victory.
Democrat Joe Biden now officially has Nevada's 6 electoral college votes. This morning, Nevada's electors met virtually, as you see here, to complete the process. Electors cast their ballots. You see there, they held them up so they could be seen by everybody watching. It's all a constitutional process, and it's taking place today all across the country.
Remember, it was COVID, so they were meeting via Zoom, right? But when those real electors were finished tallying, they then submitted that document you see on your screen with the signatures, right? They all signed it, attesting that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris won their state's 6 electoral college votes. Now, this happens in some form or another in all 50 states, or at least that is what is supposed to happen. But Trump and his allies had other plans. Now, among their many schemes to overturn the results of the election, one was one in which they would promote fake Trump electors in 7 states he actually lost. And for each of these 7 states, the fake Trump electors got together and kind of did their own, pretend version of the real thing. They signed their own fake attestation declaring falsely that Donald Trump and not Biden won their state. The plan was to then submit these fake electors to Mike Pence on January 6th, where he had a few different options, right? He could either accept the fake Trump electors instead of the real ones and just declare Trump the winner, or he could say, oh, well, there's a conflict here. Really, who's to say? And set aside both the real and the fake electors in those 7 states and then declare Trump the winner. The official Nevada GOP account actually tweeted out a picture of their state's fake electors ceremony. Here is the fake document they put together. I mean, it's a real document, but it's fake in what it says. Received by the U.S. National Archives. They actually mailed it to the archives. In that document, they attest that they, and not those folks you saw on the Zoom call a moment ago, are the real electors for the state of Nevada, and that they are submitting their 6 electoral votes for Trump, not Biden. Was that true? It was not. So it should be obvious to anyone paying attention, this scheme was, at the very best, legally dubious. I mean, you can't swear on a piece of paper to misrepresent yourself to the government as electoral college elector when you are not an electoral college elector. And it seems like some of the fake electors actually knew that, too. Listen to this. 2 slates of fake electors, the ones from Pennsylvania and New Mexico, they were actually smart enough to hedge their bets. Both groups added caveats to their fake documents, attesting they are only going to represent themselves as Trump electors if the results of the election were overturned in their respective states. As the New Mexico fake electors put it, we the undersigned, on the understanding it might later be determined that we are the duly elected and qualified electors for president and vice president, et cetera, right? See what they did there? They're like, this seems dodgy, but like, if, it turns out, then use us, but not, if not. The other 5 fake slates of electors, including Nevada, did not do that, however. They just said, we're the real deal. And it's not just the fake electors who likely knew what they were doing was wrong. This was very much a top-down effort, which brings us to this truly amazing email exchange between an attorney helping the fake electors in Arizona and Trump advisor Boris Epshteyn in December 2020. The lawyer for the fake electors writes, and I quote him here, "We would just be sending in fake electoral votes to Pence so that someone in Congress can make an objection when they start counting votes and start arguing that the fake votes should be counted." And then he catches himself and sends a follow-up email saying the following. Alternative votes, it's probably a better term than fake votes, adding a smiley face emoji. Nice save, bro. It's not just Trump allies who are pulling the strings here, and this is really crucial. There is evidence that Trump himself was in on the fake elector scheme. That brings us back to today's news. One of the fake electors who has apparently received immunity is this guy. He's the Nevada party chair, Michael McDonald. We saw him outside the courthouse in D.C., actually on the day that Trump was being arraigned in Miami. And he's already had his phone seized by the feds a year ago. He's also turned over his text messages to the January 6th committee. Texts which reveal that McDonald says he was in direct contact with Donald Trump himself when plotting the fake elector scam. No cutouts, no intermediaries. Quote, "We are on it. I have been on the phone this morning with the president, Eric Trump, Mark Meadows, and Mayor Giuliani. There is a major plan." Quote, "Was on the phone to President, Mark Meadows, Giuliani, and they want full attack mode." So the reason this fake elector scheme is so important from the perspective of a prosecutor looking into January 6th is that when it comes to the upper echelons of people that were directing this attempted coup, White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, Rudy Giuliani, of course, Trump himself, there are frankly a lot of thorny legal questions about what you can prove and what's actually legal or not. Was Trump's big lie constitutionally protected speech? What about his remarks inciting the mob on January 6th? Were his attempts to overturn the election by pressuring Pence unlawful or simply corrupt and anti-democratic? I'm not a lawyer. I don't have answers to those questions. The fake elector scheme, well, that seems different. In some ways, it reminds me of the Trump documents case. I mean, we know Trump had the documents. We know Trump shouldn't have had the documents. We know Trump didn't give the documents back when asked, and he was caught red-handed when the FBI searched him. The fake elector scheme, from the perspective of a prosecutor, is similar in that there's a lot of just indisputable evidence. These electors fraudulently signed documents claiming they were the legitimate slate from their state when they were not. Those fake documents were then submitted to the government as though they were real, possibly, probably, in violation of the law. What's more, there's evidence that Trump's inner circle was warned the plan could be unlawful.
And so, to be clear, did you hear the White House counsel's office say that this plan to have alternate electors meet and cast votes for Donald Trump in states that he had lost was not legally sound?
Yes, sir.
And who was present for that meeting that you remember?
It was in our office. It was Mr. Meadows, Mr. Giuliani, and a few of Mr. Giuliani's associates.
So the fake electors case at the level of the fake electors seems pretty open and shut. The real question is, how much of it came at the direction of Donald Trump himself? If one of the fake electors who says he spoke to Trump about the plot is cooperating with investigators, presumably he could help answer that question. As could former Trump election official Michael Roman, a guy who was integral to plotting the fake elector scheme. The New York Times is now reporting He may speak with investigators as well, which could bring us one step closer to some actual consequences for the man most responsible for January 6th.